How are you guys this morning?
We're great. Yeah, great to
Me
meet
too.
you.
Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful film. And before we discuss it, Tasha, I have to ask you, it premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival. How special was that for both
Oh,
of you? But Tasha first. I mean, come on, really.
it was incredible. I mean, my first dramatic feature and my first TIFF. So to be, in a special presentation, to have to walk the red carpet with Michael and the fabulous, cast.
Yeah.
It was a dream, and sometimes I'm like, it's so amazing that it's now hazy in my memory because
Right?
it was like so wonderful.
It really happened. I promise you, it really happened.
Good.
Michael, you, I mean, it's not your first rodeo, for goodness sake. But wow, especially being a part of a film like this, it just really had to have meant something so special for you, I would think.
Yeah, it really did. TIFF is my hometown festival.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my life in Toronto, even though I'm from out west.
Hmm.
So, that festival has a special place in my heart. For us to have Meadowlarks there was particularly important, certainly because of the size of the platform,
Sure.
and as a launching place for this kind of storytelling, I think is really important. And in the past few years, the projects that I love the most are being led by Indigenous creatives.
Yeah.
So to have those two things sort of come together at TIFF was really special.
Amazing. Yeah, for sure. What a wide audience. And yes, exactly as you say. So, Tasha, of course, the impetus of making this film was your wonderful documentary that you made, what, almost 10 years ago. What it kind of, got you thinking to make this into kind of a fictional I mean, it's not based on the same family, but it gave you that basis. So what kind of pushed you to say, you know what, I think this would make a great feature film?
Yeah. I was very happy to take Birth of a Family to Hot Docs, another great Toronto festival. Also,
Yeah.
my first time screening a film there. And, I met Julie Rosenberg, who's one of the producers at that festival. And we just started visiting. And she asked me if I was interested in working in scripted. And I said, I am, and I have ideas, but it feels like a big leap. And it was actually her idea because she loved the film so much, and she said, you shot it like a drama. And part of that was because of the real family. I didn't want to have the same kinds of interventions that happen in a documentary, because this was their
Yeah.
first and only time of having that special
Of
meeting.
course.
And so,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we were like running because, we just said, you just need to give us 10-15 minutes heads up when you decide what to do. So they would do that. And then we run to the location and secure it and get ready. And I did say, I'd love to have the opportunity to be much more deliberate in how we shoot,
Hmm.
but also, with when you're making films with real people, and especially Indigenous subjects, we've been so misrepresented in television and film, that I
Sure.
really take that responsibility seriously. And so we had, negotiated some boundaries with the real family, and
Exactly. Yeah.
was happy to do that. But I also thought, I've met a lot of 60 scoop people in my lifetime. It's somewhat it's been my experience. So I also really wanted to explore the past in the present and how they're connecting together. And
Hmm.
that was the genesis. We can dive into a fictional space and
Yeah.
not have the same, very necessary, but also, some of the restrictions around working with real people.
Yeah, absolutely. And Michael, for you, for anybody out there who is not familiar with what the 60s scoop is, can you just talk a little bit about that? And, and then having it been brought so, in the forefront for this film, I mean, it's so beautiful the way these four siblings reconnect. To me, watching this, it was as if they were, family friends forever. Like there was so much love there. I mean, obviously there's tension, there's things that go on in film, and I don't want to give anything away. But the genesis of the 60 scoop is just horrific what our government did. And uh, so if you can kind of address that first.
Absolutely. I think, when I talk about the projects I do, the films that I make, a lot of people are really quite familiar, or they're becoming more familiar with our history and the histories of our governments, both in the United States and Canada. So when I talk about Indian residential school and the boarding school system in the US, people kind of nod their head. When I told them I'm doing a film, a project about the 60s scoop, they'd all kind of go,
What? Yeah.
and I said, you know what that is?
Yeah.
Indigenous people, we've grown up with the knowledge of it, just as we
Of
did with
course.
Indian residential school. So I knew it was doubly important, like particularly important that we tell the story, because there's a gap in how people understand our collective history. So it's a policy framework that took place in Canada, also in the United States, for 60 scoop is a bit of a misnomer because it actually was like 2 decades at least of this kind of policy, in which the government deemed Indigenous families incapable for various kinds of reasons, poverty being one of them, unable to raise their children. So they were taken by the system. These children, a generation of children, grew up away from community, culture, language, and family. So our film is a deep dive into a moment where siblings that were raised apart from each other come together over a fraught but beautiful weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Tasha, the casting of the four siblings, amazing. And Mike, I'll get you to talk about your bonding process with the mother, but I wanted to know from you, Tasha, you've worked with Michael before, right? Like a long time ago. You guys have, yeah, okay, yeah, all right. I wasn't dreaming that. I knew that. Okay, so you know what a huge talent he is. No brainer, putting him in. But tell me about the three women, and how you for them were going to just work so well, because like I said earlier, I honestly felt that they were, adult siblings they were just perfect as far as I was concerned.
Yeah. No, we Michael and I worked together years ago, my first film ever, working behind the scenes, and I talked to him about this in the early 2020, I think. But yeah, then when we knew we were making this film, and we do the formal casting, and we put the call out, and a meeting with all, there's so many incredible Indigenous women actors in that age group, that it was like, oh my goodness, what, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And we probably could have cast another 3-4 siblings easy, just make a big family, but
why not?
But the three we chose, I mean, it was just really apparent early on, and they all, spoke to how the characters resonated so much with them. We were really worried about finding the sibling that had been adopted out into Europe, and finding someone who could carry that sort of European demeanor and accent, and we were very stressed about it for a long time, and I had plan A, plan B if we couldn't find someone. And then, Alex Rice sent in her tape, and I clicked and watched and went, oh, there we go. That's it. Like, she's like, it was so amazing. So yeah, I was just very thrilled to have such a talented and caring cast. That was really the key.
Totally felt that. Just have to wrap it up, but Michael, we'll just wrap it up with you. Just on the four of you being together and bonding. I was so moved by so many scenes, especially the suspension bridge scene, and then when Gwen goes into the water, and how you guys were all so loving to each other. I can't imagine that was faked.
No, it was a beautiful project to work on. First of all, because I knew two of my castmates quite well, Michelle Thrush and Alex Rice. We'd all worked together previously in theater and in films early in our careers. So there was really a long-standing relationship and friendship in place. Carmen was an an actor I hadn't met before. So there was, sort of a fresh quality to, our working relationship. But I think that's an essential part of casting, is to try to find people who can really gel. And there were edges built into the narrative about how these people would interact. But underneath it was these long-standing friendships I had with Tasha, other cast members, and then of course our relationship as Indigenous people to this history. We're all tied to it. It affects all of us. So I think those sort of things were like kind of like this beautiful like dish, like a recipe, and it sort of came together in the process with Tasha sort of guiding us through. So I'm really pleased that reads.
Yeah, it really does. Well, thank you both for your time today. I wish I could talk to you longer, but you got other people waiting. So congratulations on this. It's just, like I said, such a beautiful film. And I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Bonnie.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you, Bonnie.
welcome, guys. Okay,
Bye.
have a good rest of your day.